Ann Sommer, thank you so much for joining us on the Coach Launch podcast. So good to have you here today.
Thank you, Matt. This is so
Oh,
great to see you. I know we're both on either ends of the world, so I'm glad that we can share some space today.
it's so good, so good. Looking forward, and I'm excited to dive into hearing more about your story and sharing with our listeners this incredible stuff that you've got going on. This is going to be a really interesting podcast today. So, guys, welcome to Coach Launch. Today, we have the pleasure of speaking with an extraordinary leader in transformation, Ann Sommer. As the founder of the Uncompromised Human, expansion and high performance identity architect, and has walked away from the operating room, where she was previously working in the medical field, to redefine what true leadership means when biology, identity, and leadership intersect. Through her groundbreaking tools like Flickr and Merck, and as a best-selling author, Anne empowers elite achievers to silence the inner critics and master the balance between fear and power. So let's explore Anne's revolutionizing success from the inside out. Shall we go? And there was a point where things started out. Let's take a step back in your journey and maybe dissect where the origins of your story came from and give us a bit of an understanding of where you come from and who you are.
Mhm. Yeah, it's important to know who I am now versus who I was a shy little girl. I was born four of five kids in the Midwest to a dairy farm. And I was the only blonde, I was the only curly haired, and I was the only one scared of everything. I was scared of the dark, the lightning, the thunder, the dogs, the heights, everything. And I had four very outgoing brunette siblings. So that song, One of These Things Doesn't Go with the Other, was kind of like Little Ann. But if you said my name, I would blush. If there was any opportunity for me to raise my hand and I wanted to, I just couldn't. I was so shy, so reserved. And that went on and through high school. And then I remember about 17, my junior, senior year, I thought it's so hard being this quiet and this reserved and this shy. I'm going to figure out how to become unshy. And so, this has been the 1980s. There aren't books, there's no internet, there's no Google. I just remember thinking, I'm going to start watching people. I'm just going to observe, like, what do they do? What are their facial expressions? How do they lean in? How do they lean out? And I would just watch. And then I would go home and kind of like think about it. And then, for example, I would go to high school and I would start talking to like a friend, a guy friend. Not that we had a crush on each other or anything, but I remember thinking I was laughing really cute, like real cute. And he's like, Ann, why are you so mad? And I thought, oh my God, my face must be like giving him this look when I thought I was giving him this look. So through that, I learned a lot of lessons from negative feedback. But what I was really learning is that I was being set up for now because I figured out how to become an overprotected outgoing adult. But every time I got comfortable, I would make myself doing something more uncomfortable. I would make myself go to a restaurant, which was terrifying. You don't remember anything other than that voice saying, like, you shouldn't be here. They're all staring at you. And then some inner voice saying, like, you're good. You're good. You got this. Just do it. It's not going to kill you, but then you can go on to the next thing that's scary. So then I would make myself go to a movie. Again, terrifying. I don't remember the movie. I don't remember anything. I just remember the voices of like, get out, shouldn't be here. This is embarrassing. And that inner, like, no, I'm doing this. It's going to be okay. This will not kill me. So it was like this craziness. But what happened was as I challenged both my external fear and then my internal fear, what I call fear, or that intuition, what we call intuition, Matt, I figured out who I was with like zero question. And every time I took another uncomfortable step, I figured out how to kind of simmer this voice that this wasn't truth. All of this out here, all of the gossip, all the society, all the social, what they say was not who I was. Because every time I challenged it, it got quieter and it got quieter and I got more successful. So I just figured out how to get into college by myself, how to get into medical school, how to sell my plasma to make money, how to ride my bike in college, how to just keep succeeding, figuring out how to become what I am now, the overcorrected outgoing adult.
What was it like experiencing that fear as a kid? Like, there's different levels of fear, right? And when we talk about fear, some people say, well, all kids have that, don't they? What would you say to that?
Yeah. I would say that you're definitely born with your personality. You're definitely born with your characteristics. We have to be. Otherwise, we would all be the same. We're all born with different fingerprints. We're all born with different hair color, eye color, skin tones. Those are characteristics, right? My personality as a shy, reserved little girl was my characteristics. But it also started to, like, I always knew there was a strong intuition in
Did,
me.
did you feel you had more fear than other people as a kid in that scenario?
I definitely had more reservations.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you felt you were more hidden from the crowd, like you felt these voices talking to you internally, and that kept you kind of hidden or something like that?
Yeah, such a good differentiation. I didn't really hear voices like that external, like you don't talk, nobody wants to listen to you, you're not worth it. It wasn't that. It was almost like it wasn't controlled. So if somebody said my name, I would immediately blush, So
Right.
there was like that physical reaction to my,
Triggers.
yeah. And that was what I
Triggers.
was.
So looking back at this journey of your learning and growth, how does the stuff that you've gone through then motivate you now to do what you do?
Mhm. I love people. I've always loved people. I've loved babysitting. I've loved taking care of everybody. So to go into medicine was just natural for me. I'm a physician assistant medical provider. I'm not an MDDO provider, which I was called to be a PA. I remember the day I met a PA. I heard a voice said, "That's what you're meant to be." I went home. I researched it. I said to my dad, "Well, if I'm going to spend that many years in school, why don't I just go to medical school?" And he was like, "You can do whatever you want." But the important part about that was my inner side, or whatever you want to call it, universal law, natural law, told me I was meant to be a PA. The reason is the journey and the leadership and the path that I was meant to build as a PA. Not because if you go and see a doctor, you don't doubt a doctor. If you don't like a doctor, you find another doctor. If you go see a PA and you don't like a PA, you sometimes write up all PAs. There's a big difference there,
Right.
right? So the challenge is competence over credential,
Right.
right?
Yeah. That's a very powerful context that you're putting in place there.
Thank you. It's like I was handed a machete and sent into the jungle as a PA. And they said, make a path, but all the trees are doctors. Now find your way. Make a path for all the PAs, for all the NPs, for all the people that need a medical provider, that we have to change the trajectory of medicine somehow. And that's your assignment. So that's been my assignment for a long time. And that's what motivates me.
Was this decision to go into medical school at around the age of 17? You said from the stuff that I've looked at that you had a transformation at around the age of 17. Talk
Yeah.
to us about that and what happened there.
Yeah. So at 17, the event that happened is because we grew up in the country and we were farm children, we were in 4-H and we did all of the farm kid things. We learned how to sew. And sewing was my way of being outgoing. I was excellent at sewing. I could look at a pattern and I could manipulate the steps. I made my prom dress. Okay. But I didn't have enough material. So I had to like be real constructive of how I was going to cut the pieces out of the material I had. This beautiful blue satin bag. So my mom comes down later in the day and she's looking at all the steps. And then she said, I think you messed this step up. And then I doubted myself and I made a seam. And if I don't know if you've ever sewn or taken out a seam out of material, it's a little seam ripper. And if you peel one of the stitches in satin, you'll run. You'll make a run in the whole satin. Remember, I don't have extra material. There is no room for it. And in my head, I knew every step. This is an important story because not that my mom was trying to mess me up, but when I realized I was right and I allowed her to make me double think what I knew was right, I was so mad. But I was really mad at me. I wasn't really mad at her. I was really mad at me. And that anger
Yeah.
for myself, for allowing somebody to make me double think what I knew was right, was the first real pivotal moment of I'm done. I'm done double thinking. I'm done doubting. I'm done. I'm done. I'm going to figure out how to not be there again because that felt horrible.
Wow.
So that was
Goodness,
the,
that is such a powerful story. And I think a lot of listeners could relate to that, is
it-
that we spend so much time in our lives knowing, like we have this feeling, or especially as entrepreneurs or in positions of influence, where we know we're making certain decisions or we have to make certain decisions.
Mm.
And oftentimes that worry about what other people think or what other people say in our lives can have such a detrimental impact, take us on journeys that we weren't supposed to do, and then find out we were right in the first place. And it's about believing in yourself, believing in your gut, right? And I think a
yes,
lot of people are afraid to, they get confused with listening to themselves versus listening to other people.
yeah,
And that's such a powerful context. I
yeah,
love that.
yeah.
What, so from there, at the age of 17, now, forgive me, I've never quite sewn a dress, I'm not that way inclined, but I could imagine the process where you've only got a certain amount of material and you're trying to create something and you have a strategy, right? You've strategized this. It's really a good analogy for business oftentimes, right? You've only got so much money, you've only got so much resources, and you have to strategize. So there's a very small amount of error in business and in life, right?
Yes.
Oftentimes. And you have to make these strategic decisions. And having clear pathways is important. Talk to me about that as the analogy where people are doing things and then they let fear, doubt come in and misdirect them from their path.
Yeah. Yes. So have you ever gotten like that feeling where you're like, I know I should do that, but then you override it with your brain? You're like, I might look stupid, or that isn't going to be a popular, or logically that might not make sense, right? So now you let all this external logic come in and you override your gut. You override your intuition, which is your nervous system. You're born with this ability to be directed with the right answer. But we're trained to not listen to it. We're trained to logic, good, bad, and we override it. And then you make the decision and you come back and you say to yourself, I knew that was going to happen, right? That right there is the perfect example that everybody can say yes to. Then here's my next example. Have you ever gotten like a feeling in your shoulder, like a creeper feeling where you're like, get out or cross the street or don't go in that direction? Have you ever had that scenario? Yet, did you
Yes.
ignore it?
Good question.
And when you ignored it, did you learn a bad lesson?
Oftentimes.
Oftentimes.
Yes.
Now, that question,
Yes.
interestingly, pretty much 100% people say I either never ignored it or when I did, I learned a bad lesson. What is that? That is your intuitive fear, or what I call fear one, kind fear, physical fear. It never lies to you. It can't lie to you. It's like your heart not beating. You were born with your heart to beat. You don't control your heart beating.
So you've just highlighted something that you've created. There's this picture that I'm getting of these different things going on. And you've just dissected different types of fear.
Mhm. Yes. Yeah.
Talk
So,
to us a bit about that.
yeah. So this is the fear code. This is really what I'm calling my groundbreaking discovery is there are two types of fear. We know there's fight and flight, right? We've heard of fight and flight. You get startled and your nervous system gives you a signal to fight or flight. Now that's a physical sensation. You get a physical signal that might get some emotions to get you to move. And then after it's over, you put words to explain the experience to yourself. Okay. So that's fear
Right.
one, intuitive, natural, universal law, biology. You're born with it. You don't have to learn it. Nobody trains you to do it. You're born with it and it never lies to you. It will never abandon you. Now, fear two is nurtured fear, what I call unkind fear, emotional fear. That is not natural, it's nurtured. You learn it, it is given to you. Here's the biggest key is that outside fear starts with a word, adds bad emotion, replays enough, you start to believe it, and then it hijacks your nervous system. So now people are getting elevated heart rate, brain fog, nervousness, panic, anxiety. But look at this. Our natural inborn fear runs on our nervous system highway, starts with a physical, emotional thought, and bad fear, fear two, runs on the same highway in the opposite direction. Starts with the word, emotion, nervous system. So these are two different things completely. We're lumping them into one because they mimic each other.
Wow. And so from your experience, there's two different fears. How do you dissect the two?
Mhm. You dissect the two, but first of all, where is the fear starting? This is like all listeners can be like, well, how do I do this alone? When you get fear, when you feel anxiety, when you feel the panic, when you feel like, where are you? Are you being chased by a bear or are you standing in your kitchen? And then what was the very first signal? Was it a physical signal? Was it a word in a thought? Because a word in a thought is an emotional, external, nurtured, bad, unkind fear. And this is all erasable then. But I have to teach you how to do that. And my goal is to teach people how to do this. But if it's a physical, if it's that shoulder, if it's like I tell people, are you being pulled? Is your gut kind of pulling you in a direction or an answer? Or you just know that is a physical sensation or a physical kind protective fear. What I'm calling fear, because it's the root of everything, of
Yeah.
right?
And so that's interesting. So what you're saying is we have these kind of genetic or biological fear
Mhm.
state, which is stuff that we're born with. That's our DNA, how we made up, right? And that doesn't fundamentally change. And then we've got these over our life, we've had messages, influences, people around us, events that we've experienced that have created these narratives in us that are kind of dissecting with the fear. And how I understand it is that most of what we're being told is that that is one fear,
Yes.
yet it is separate,
You're separate.
whereby you have this internal biological fear,
Mhm.
but there's a different fear, and this fear can be managed, changed,
Yes.
gotten rid of,
Yes.
redirected.
Yes.
And this is what you help people, right? Is understanding the difference and giving them the power to control or learn or manage or remove
Remove.
these fear goals that are stopping them from moving forward in their lives, right? With
Yes.
whatever things are happening.
Yeah, exactly. So, like you said, okay, so there's fight or flight. We've all heard of that. And that's, you're born with that. Animals have fight or flight. We're animals. We have fight or flight, right?
Yeah.
Recently, they changed it to fight, flight, or freeze, which
Mm.
I
Yeah.
think is the biggest mistake ever. Because what's freezing? Freezing is from emotion. You're not born with freeze. Freezing is like panic, anxiety, emotional fear. You inherited that. So let's not treat them the same. We can't put them in the same bucket because they're not the same. You have a lot of disease processes, right? I see disease for 26 years. We can go in and we can operate and remove disease. We can go in and manipulate it with maybe exercise or thought. Whatever it is, it's all in your body, but there's different pathways for certain diseases, even if it's a type 1 diabetes or type 2 diabetes. They are very different physiologic components. They can be treated
Yeah.
similar, but not the same.
Gotcha. So same as how you're dissecting fear. Now, when we talk about fear, and I talk about this a lot in stuff that I do, is that fear is kind of an overarching feeling or experience that we talk about, right? It's like everything is connected to fear, but underneath fear is like the doubt, overwhelm, procrastination. Does that connect with what we're talking about here? Like when we're talking about fear, because fear has so many, like people say fear and all these things, but there is so much around this that I see that it's like, for instance, I might be looking at my computer, right? And then there's a whole lot of tabs open. There's so much to do. And all of a sudden I'm feeling overwhelmed and I'm afraid to move forward because I don't know which direction is the best direction. And I know a lot of people, especially in high profile places, have that thing, right? Where sometimes there's just so many things. And is procrastination connected with fear?
And this is such a good, fun subject because no matter what, you're going to have emotions, right? So whether you have an inherited fear, whether you have a habit that is a negative, is the procrastination only emotional? To really answer your question, this is how I like to describe it, is we have the outside external fear too. The things that we hear ourselves saying that we would never say to anybody else. You're worthless. Nobody's going to listen to you. You're stupid. You're ugly. Why would you do that? Right. And then that creates more of a procrastination from the fear. Well, if I do it, no one's going to listen to me anyway. Versus what you described is when this is gone and now you just have overwhelm, but you can rationally step back and be like, oh, I have a lot to do. How am I going to organize it to get it done? Versus
Right.
you're worthless. No one's going to listen to you. Don't do it anyway. What are you going to do? You're just going to waste your time.
Interesting.
The
I
other
love how you've
interest,
explained that.
yeah, thank you. The other interesting part is when the external goes on a long, long time, people will start to call it perfectionism, imposter syndrome. So it's like now we put in kind of shiny, pretty labels on it because that is more of a positive spin. And it's not that we did it on purpose or that we're trying to hide it. I think that up until this point, it's all been one thing. And so how do you like dissect the globe into one thing? It's not one thing. It's two very different things.
So good. I love that. That explains a lot. And I really like how you've given clarity on the difference between procrastination that you can manage and the actual fear of the stuff that's holding you back. from that context of the external stuff. And people, we all have that, right? The voices that say you're not good enough. Why are you doing this? You should give up, right? And I know so many people can relate to that. So talk to me a little bit about your framework, the framework that you have to help people and how you help people break through their barriers.
So the framework is the main steps are the first time I sit with you one-on-one for anywhere up to 2 hours. 2 hours or less is how I can get through it. And it is the steps of identifying the words that you're saying, identify where they came from, identify what it is you've done, what you made happen because of you, nobody else, and erasing and giving this back, and then taking and claiming this as this is you. That's the first main step.
So that first step would happen where you're asking a series of specific professional questions
Yes.
to dissect what's happening inside so that the information that comes out is a specific process where you can kind of use that information to affect change.
Yes. Yeah. And that's really where I can use my medical background and in my own experience to know what, like, here's the biggest beautiful blessing I have is I can help you see what you can't see. I can help you hear what you can't hear. And I can help you ask the questions that you just don't know to ask. And once you know what you're looking at, what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're asking, and it's clear to you now, it's like I took the curtains and all the static and I just went like this. Yes. And another really important piece of this step is I say to people, this isn't me saying, I think you should be like Superman, or you saying, like, well, I'd really like to be like Batman. It is me showing you 100% who you were created to be. What is your personality? What is your purpose here on life? What have you done? What are the characteristics that you possess to make them happen that you just never saw before?
And what does that shift do for people?
Oh my gosh, Matthew, it's the best. For example, work with a couple who have a very large nonprofit organization. It's a worldwide organization. They're a young couple. And they work with children that have been sexually abused. And they're changing laws all over the world. And I became friends with them. We started just friends and talking. And I finally said, "Go through my proposal." The first time when I had them put down what they succeeded in and what they were hearing, what they listed as successes was like here versus what they've done here. So once I could remove the static and say, this is what you did, this is what you did, this is who you are, and then bring out a lot of the who are the people in your life that maybe aren't really on your side is the biggest key. Because some people we have to keep in our lives. And now I teach you boundaries and non-negotiables. And then there's people that you don't need in your life, and it's okay to let them go. So when you were talking about like the guilt and is it going to be the right thing and what are people going to think about, all of this feeling bad is all out here. All let's tell the truth. That is all external. So after I worked with them for an hour, they went out of the country to run their organization. They quit their own organization because they had become a little too corrupt and a little too power hungry, out of their control. So they left it and they reestablished a new one with a new mission, a new goal, and all of it. And she came back. She's like, "Ann, I see who I am now. I see my power. I see what has been going wrong, and I don't question it anymore." Like, that's a great example. Yeah.
Wow, that's huge transformation. And so going into step 2.
Yeah. Step 2 is fun because depending on why person had the experiences they had in their past, this next emotion just bubbles up. Is it going to be madness? Is it going to be anger? Is it going to be regret? Is it going to be freedom? And I tell people to the left of you is your past, and it's like an accordion. And we just have to heal it and close it because we don't live there anymore. If we need to, we can open it up and we can peek in there, we can heal it and close it. And that is dealing with like the questions of like, what to experience what I had to experience, especially if it's really traumatic. And I can tell them exactly why they had to experience it because it's made you who you are today. You just didn't know it or see it. And that is wrapped up in your purpose, your whole life purpose. And so there's always an explanation, not that it's that people deserve to go through what they went through or that forgivable on a level. We'll talk about forgiveness if you want to, but it is rationalizing why it happened, who you are now, and working through those emotions of it and being good with it. And we're good, making good with it, giving forgiveness, being forgiven. And all forgiveness comes from you anyway, because really forgiveness comes from you too. So there's one more way to
Wow.
release.
So what I'm hearing is that in your step one, you're kind of bringing out the stuff that creates clarity.
Mhm.
And in step two, it's about release or forgiveness or letting go of certain things. Is that correct?
It is. It's like rationalizing the facts.
Right.
Yeah. Facts over fear. This is one of my favorite phrases. I say, we're going to use facts over fear. We're not going to make assumption. We're going to look at what was your experience, but then who are the people, who are the players? You know, why did your mother abandon you? Why did your father get remarried to maybe a less than adequate stepmom? Why did you have to raise the 4 kids and you were 10? You know, why was there some horrible abuse? Or why did you have a beautiful childhood and now you feel a little lost?
Yeah. I mean, everyone has been through some story, right? We all have stories of growth and it's brought us to where we are right now. Like you said, back to the fear because fear is irrational oftentimes, right? Fact is the reality. And this is what it is. And diving into that and knowing the facts versus the irrational, emotional decisions and choices that we make sometimes, right? It's very powerful to understand that. That's given me kind of a big aha moment. I love that. Thank you
Yeah,
for sharing that.
you're so welcome.
So going into step number 3, what does it look like then?
Yeah. Step number 3 is now making non-negotiables and boundaries. A non-negotiable, what is a non-negotiable versus a boundary?
A non-negotiable versus a boundary. So a non-negotiable is something that absolutely won't change, and a boundary is something that has flexibility.
Yes,
My perspective.
exactly. And the boundary, the flexibility is between the 2 non-negotiables.
Right.
Mhm. Yeah.
Dissect that a little bit more so I understand. So
Yeah.
a boundary is something that has flexibility, but a non-negotiable is fixed.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Is there somebody in your life that drives you crazy, but you have to spend time with them? You don't have to say a name. I don't want to get you in trouble. Most of us have that person, whether it's a family member or a close coworker who drives us crazy. But then there's parts of that person that you love that you're like, I was part of that person. If I could just remove this piece of it. Okay. I'm going to use this as an example because it's going to flow into work. It's going to flow into leadership. It's going to flow into fear, good fear, bad fear. Take one person and you write everything on a list you like about them and you write everything on a list you don't like about them. Now, everything on the
Right.
don't like list, you're not obligated to do with that person. There is nothing that says you have to experience that part of that person ever again. Okay. Now, on the parts that you like, this is where the boundaries come. Okay. So let's say, for example, I love going out to eat with my mom, but I don't like going shopping with her because it gets long and she complains. This is false. This is not real. My mom's phenomenal. So the non-negotiables in this relationship would be, I'm not going shopping and I'm not spending more than an hour with this person. Okay. Period.
Right.
Now, what's the boundary? Well, the boundaries are all the things you enjoy. I like going out to eat. We like going flower shopping. We like picking up sticks. So now how do you present that to the person, the non-negotiable, but the boundary is in between the non-negotiables, all the things that you like
Right.
to do with that person. So for example, I teach people, you're going to call them and say, hey, mom, I have 1 hour between 1 and 3 p.m. because you figured out what works for your schedule. And then you're going to give the options of the things you like. Would you like to go to eat? Would you like to pick up flowers? Does that work for you? You gave them a time zone. You gave them the non-negotiables, but they get to choose and you get to enjoy the best part of that person. And you can do that with coworkers. You
Oh,
can do
good.
that with work. It is really figuring out what are the things you just drive you crazy. You are obligated to do them. Never said you have to do them, but we struggle so much with like, but how do I figure it out and not feel bad, not feel guilt, not feel shame, not feel self-punishment? Well, these are the steps. So when I get to non-negotiables and boundaries, it's a lot easier for people to not feel guilty because we already got rid of guilt. Does that help?
So good. Oh, that is so powerful. I think that is a very valuable lesson that you just shared with the listeners. And for me, there is a lot of people around, and not only just, I mean, when you will break it down into a year, there's friends, there's family, there's business, there's even business partners, there's, clients, customers, all those kind of things. And having that parameter is super powerful. I think boundaries are super important. And I like how you've created these non-negotiables.
Thank you.
Non-negotiables mean that that's just how it is, right? We've got to stick with that. But
Yes.
that takes a bit of discipline, doesn't it? As well, being clear and being disciplined about that.
Yeah. Well, such a good point, Mr. White. It's clear when we're still feeling guilt, when we're still feeling bad, when we're still letting the loop determine what the non-negotiable is. Does that make sense? If I'm always telling myself, you're not good enough, don't say anything, just keep your mouth shut, they'll get mad at you, then I'm going to sit back here and I'm going to have to watch a train wreck that I know I can fix, right?
Right.
Well, I gotta get rid of this. And I want to say this. I feel like this is my biggest pet peeve. Do you want to hear my biggest pet peeve?
Growth.
In medicine, in conferences, in speeches, my biggest pet peeve is when somebody gives advice, a tool, a strategy, but doesn't tell you how to implement it. So,
Right.
right? So it's like, and like you said, okay, overcome fear. Well, how do you control fear? I mean, how do you control it? So now we're trying to control the mental loop with another mental loop, And the words are just looping in your head. Yes. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I forgot what you even asked me when I went down that rabbit hole.
We were talking about discipline. So having
Oh, yeah.
that non-negotiable, right? And so to make that, you could write it down, you could be clear with them, but then there's always that, what if they just one day push the boundaries or you let release of those non-negotiables? Like, what do you have to say about that?
Yes. When you get to that third step with me, there, I tell people we're going to create a bubble because right now, what happens with most people that haven't gone through this process is no matter what's said to us, whether it's society, whether it's social media, whether it's our partners, whether it's work, it comes directly into and hits us.
Yeah.
It affects our words, affects our emotions, it affects our nervous system. And that only makes the mental loop go faster. And we're still being physically affected by all of these external things. Well, once I can show you who you are to the core, that you are so like, I know who I am, and then make good with why did the past have to be the past to prove who you are now, and then to get to the boundaries and non-negotiables. When you get there, there is like an invisible bubble around you so that now all of the external stuff, it doesn't hit me, it doesn't hit you. It's like, this is the best example I can give you. When people say, so and so said something about me, but they really cared. When you're in a bubble, truly is like, okay,
Yeah.
they're just talking words. This is the biggest secret too. Because now, if somebody's going to gossip, I'll use myself as an example. If somebody's going to say something bad about me, and I'm going to turn around and use my energy to convince them that they are wrong, what did I just do?
You're giving them the power.
I just gave them power. I just gave them evidence that they might be right, that I went out of my way to prove that they're wrong.
Yeah.
Leave it be. The less attention that it affects you and it won't affect you, and that you're like, okay, so they're running off their mouth. Who cares? I know who I am. It makes them look even a little worse because they're just alone now talking. You're not defending them or trying to defend yourself. I mean, so that looks like, well, maybe you are. Maybe that isn't true. Maybe where did that come from?
Yeah.
Because Anne seems very unaffected by that.
Yeah.
That's
And
it.
having that mindset shift is super important. I can't tell you how many times I see people getting so emotional, they have to justify why that person's wrong. What happens when you do that and you do give that power on, you then create this, like it's a wasted energy, right? It's a wasted moment or argument happens, or because they're going to defend themselves.
Yes.
And then you defending it, and then both people might be right at the end of the day, just with different opinions, right? Why waste that energy? But
Why
it
we
takes, I'm pretty sure that in your process, you're helping to build the tools of resilience to be able to manage that, because it's an emotional thing, right? Somebody says something, all of a sudden you want to go, right? You want to just like, don't say that about me. So being able to have the insights and using your tools to be able to manage that, like that's so powerful. To be able to do that, like it's a game changer, right? It helps you in leadership, helps you in business, helps you in life, helps you in relationships. It helps you with friendships, everything, right?
everything. Yes, 100%. Because when you stop living affected by the invisible things, the words, the comparison, well, on social media, she looks better, or she has more. And remember, you can be anybody you want to be on social media. So just because you see it, your eye's perception might be the deception. That's my other favorite one. Your eye's perception just might be the deception.
Right. So good. I love that.
Thank you.
So
Yeah.
tell me, who's, okay, let's dive into this. You've got these very, very powerful tools, and I can see such huge impact that you can make in people's lives. Who is it that you specifically help? Like, who are the people that you work with that can get the most benefit from the work that you've been doing?
The people that get the most benefit are truly probably 30 and older, and they run up here. They're high performers. They're burning themselves out. They are,
When you say high performers, can you elaborate on that?
yeah, they are waking up early. They are eating right most of the time. They're going to the gym. They are putting in the extra hours. They are running a household. They are putting the extra hours after the hours. Their level of self is already high, where They know what they want to do. They're going to achieve it. And they're on that path. But they're still stuck. They're stuck in a rut. They're stuck in their health. They see their health failing. They see a relationship failing. It's people really that, age group wise, I work with 30-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds. That's my age group. But what I've discovered is you have to be ready to change. You have to be so sick of this loop. You have to be so done and at your wit's end, because I've tried to work with people that are kind of there. Never works. Never works. So
And
it's cool. Mhm.
sorry, carry on, continue.
No, I was going to say it's really people like me and like you. Um,
I just wanted to highlight something that I'm hearing in marketing. It's people that are problem aware versus solution aware, or they're in that mind frame. So there's a shift in identity. A lot of people, they want to do the thing, but they don't prioritize the thing, right? So that's when the transformation happens, because we all want so many things, right? We want to have a nice car. We want to have a lovely family. We want to have a good business. We want all these things. But the things that really change our lives are the things that we prioritize. And that could be bad or good. And that prioritization will either hold you back or free you. And so from what I'm hearing is that people, unless they're prioritizing the fact that they want to transform, they're never going to transform because they haven't prioritized that as an important factor. And
Yeah.
that priority happens by decision, either by external influences or a decision they made internally. And they go like, I'm now self-aware. I need to prioritize this thing. And now I'm going to do this thing. And so
yes.
you're working with people that prioritized that they want to make their life a bit better.
Yeah. And, such a good moment, because it is people who prioritize. And it's when they don't know how to prioritize, that's when they find me. That's when the word of mouth comes. And that's the hardest thing, Mr. Marketer, to put into words. It's really, it is like, where are you so stuck? Here's the secret, I think. This is an epiphany for me, is that people who are in control know how to prioritize, know how to succeed and get things done for themselves and multitask. And then they have this part that they just feel lost. Their marriage isn't working. That's a big one. I love working with couples. And it's really all communication. How do you communicate? What are you hearing? What is the word? What are you seeing in the outside of your head versus the inside of your head? What are you physically seeing, sharing, not sharing? And that like static, that part we don't know how to talk about. I'm good at talking about the things nobody talks about. And
So
it,
good. You
yeah,
just you just highlighted you just highlighted another thing. This is such a good podcast. I'm really enjoying this conversation
thank you.
because you just highlighted another very important aspect that I think as business or high achievers often times want to do the relationship thing because we know it's important, right? Because here's the thing, if your relationship isn't stable, your business and the life that you're living isn't going to be fulfilling by any means. But as a business person, you're always pushing and pushing and pushing. And it's the unsaid things, like you just mentioned, that are the things that create the biggest barriers. And if your relationship isn't working, you can't perform at your best. It's hard to perform at your best when your relationship is struggling, right? Especially if you've been with somebody for long, like years and years and years. So I think that all of the stuff that you're talking about, teaching and helping people with, ultimately to create good relationships is super powerful. Like it's game changing, right?
It is game changing. I just got done working with a couple that she came to me and then I said, well, I really want to talk with you and your husband. And then I talked with them both. And then I made an offer to work with them both. He was shocked but I know the power of working with them as a couple and the transformation that they did on multiple levels in themselves, in each other, in the communication, in the bedroom, out of the bedroom, which are both so important, but we don't have people who know how to talk about it. We're so used to being like, that's embarrassing. Don't talk about it. And here's the best part is I did OBGYN for 14 years and almost all my patients were like, you don't make it weird. And I was like, I hate making things weird. When I see a physician or I'm training somebody, I'm like, do not make it weird. Okay. Your goal is to not make it weird. Don't be weird. Don't look weird. Don't do weird stuff. Just don't be weird. That's fun.
I wouldn't last very long. I like doing weird stuff.
Yeah. Weird stuff is fun, but when you're seeing somebody and they're trying to tell you embarrassing stuff, like weird is fun, but not
There's
when
a
there's
boundary. I love
like,
that.
they
That's
made a
so good.
huge transformation. Huge transformation.
So, if you were to give some advice there for aspiring leaders, CEOs, directors, people in high performing positions,
Okay.
what would you say to give them some tools, or what should they need to be thinking about?
Yeah. Number one is figure out who you are. When I say, tell me about yourself, you can't use your credentials. You can't use your titles. You can't use your family name. You can't use your children. Most people don't know how to do it. So figure that out. If you don't know how to do that, find me. I'll help you figure that out. That's first step because when you figure out who you are, you trust yourself. And until you fully trust yourself, it's really hard to trust other people and know who's trustworthy. That's number one.
Okay.
Number two, if you're in a leadership position, and most of us are, and you have to deal with difficulties, which is always communication and people, these are 3 sentences that will tell you everything they're thinking. You sit them down and say, in 2 minutes, tell me what's going through your head and just let them talk. Let them verbally vomit everything they're thinking, their emotions, whatever it is. And you do not react. It doesn't affect you. It's not directly towards you. And then you say, first sentence, what I'm hearing you say is, fill it in. Second sentence, that makes me feel what? Fill it in. Is it shock? Is it sadness? Is it happiness? What is it? How do you feel? So what I hear you saying is blank. That makes me feel blank. Number 3, is that what you meant?
Interesting.
Secret.
Very powerful.
Very powerful. Because, and then I tell groups, prove me wrong. Because they're like, that's not going to work. I'm like, prove me wrong. Look, how many times have you been in a conversation and you reiterate what you heard and they're like, what I said? You weren't listening. It's like, that is exactly what you said. Right? So again, kind of the eye's perception is the deception. How are you? What is really going on? So if you want to know as a leader, what's really going on? Why are things going bad? What are the people that's running the company? Why are they upset? Listen to them. Let them talk and then reiterate what you hear, how it makes you feel, and then ask them, is that what you meant? And they'll probably always say, like, that is not what I said. It's not what I meant. Now you get into the conclusion. Now you're getting answers. Now you can fix the problem because you know what the problem is. You stop making assumptions. I would say those are my 2 biggest pieces of advice I give a lot.
Wow, that's so powerful. I love that. Could you reiterate that 3 parts again? Those 3 questions?
Yes. Yep. Sentence number 1. What I hear you saying is blank.
Yeah.
Sentence 2. That makes me feel blank. 3. Is that what you meant? Period. And shut up. Just stop talking. Be comfortable in silence. Be comfortable letting them think like, because they'll probably be like, oh, Is that what you heard? That's how you felt. And now I have to justify what I just said. Give them space. Give them time to come back and explain what they just said. Is that what they really meant?
Wow. That's so powerful. I never thought about that before, but that is a very powerful tool and a communication tool for leaders that really helps to understand the team, right? Understand the people around them.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
when they get to speak, so that opens up a level of rapport as well, right?
Yes. Everybody just wants to be heard. Everybody
Yeah.
wants to know that they're being listened to. And most of the time we don't listen. Maybe we listen, but we don't hear. We hear and we don't listen. And we just run off and make our own decisions. I would say in healthcare, that's why healthcare seems to be failing. It's like, do you know what the people are doing that are running the business? The doctors, the PAs, the people cleaning the rooms. What are they doing? And why isn't it working? Because they're not the ones making the decision. So where's the communication, the leak? Find the leak and figure it out and actually listen to each other and know what is everybody doing? What is their job? Not just their job, but what is going wrong with the whole process?
That's right. Communication, everything, every problem comes down to communication or lack
Even
of
with yourself.
communication.
Even communication with
Exactly.
yourself. I do have a book that is in editing right now. It's going to be a series of 3 books. The first one is titled Living Afraid Until Now, and that's introducing Fear 1 and Fear 2. Book is The Law of Fear Squared, and that's going to go
The law
into
of Phoenix
the
squared.
law of
Wow.
fear squared. Yeah, it's that fear is not one thing, it's 2. And then the third book is Fear Not. Those are the running titles, right? And then I have a baby's book that's titled When Fear is a Friend. And I have a children's book and a teenage book in the process, just to start teaching people good fear, bad fear. How do you trust yourself? How do you live fearless?
So that's a good repertoire of books. That's very impressive. When is your first book coming out?
Well, the adult version's in editing right now. So I'm
Yeah,
hoping that I can launch it sooner versus later. Which,
gotcha. That'll be exciting to read when it comes out. So we've shared a lot of stuff today. We've dived into some really deep thought processes around fear, breaking through, understanding yourself, communication. We've unpacked a lot here. And obviously there's a lot more to it. There's depth to what you do and how you're helping people. And in the space of high performers, there is such a big need for people that can help break through those barriers, break through those ceilings. Because running a business, being a director, being a CEO, being a person of influence, being a manager, all of these fields, at some point you always feel inadequate or you feel like something's holding you back. You've reached a ceiling. So having a system that you have created to help people break through that ceiling is, I feel, very powerful, very important, especially in this day and age. We're so disconnected, and that amplifies this whole, right? And we have media screaming us in the face. We've got AI running amok now, and it's just like, it's a noisy world, right? And if we can't
yeah,
control what's going on in here and in here, we tend to feel very lost, right? And so I
very
love
soon.
the work you're doing. How do people get hold of you if they want to learn more and move forward with you?
Yes, you can go to my website, www.annsommer.org, ANNSOMMER.org.
Excellent. I will have that link in the show notes. And it's been an awesome pleasure talking to you, getting to know you, understanding how you help people. I'm sure that the listeners got some huge value from you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Matthew. This was so fun. You were great to talk to. So much energy, so many good things to discuss. Thank you.
Awesome.